One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Oh, howdy, partner.
Howdy, partner.
Howdy, listeners. We wanted to let you know that today's episode was first released in November of 2021. Now, this is Michelle Clare, who had 3 near-death experiences and is also a medium. And since then, some more things have happened in her life, and we are going to be releasing part 2 of that next week. So stay tuned for that. But because we have a big library of episodes, we wanted to make sure that this was fresh in your feed so that you could get reacquainted if you haven't heard her already.
Right. So just to make that clear, she did an episode with us previously. Her life has changed. You can probably predict in which way. And so we have recorded another episode with her, but we want you to remember her and kind of her backstory because we don't get into that in the second episode.
Thank you for clarifying me.
I don't think it made it any more clear, to be honest.
Also, if you're listening to this episode in real time, this Saturday, December 20th at whatever time it is for you. For us, it would be 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you're in Pacific Time Zone, that's 5 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone else, I don't know. You got to Google it. So if you're awake and you're in Europe or in Australia, Google the times. Our friend Marilee is doing a holiday check-in. You might remember her from the recent episode, The Boss of Cheese. So check that out. If you're in the Widow Wives Club, go to events and you'll see it there. And you can RSVP and then get the Zoom link. So we are appreciative to Marilee for doing that. It's been really helpful to have some holiday Zoom hangouts during this season.
I agree. And thank you so much for the people who have helped us to do those. If you're interested in hosting one of those, let us know, because we cannot be all places all the time. And when people need a little extra help during the holiday seasons, it's nice to have some helpers, I guess.
Yeah. Just hang out with some people that you don't know, and then you become friends. And you can talk about whatever's going on in your life, or you can just sit there and lurk. It's fine.
Yes. Mel.
Yeah.
What do you think about doing the Patreon shout out? Can we do that? We haven't done that in a minute.
Yes, I think this is a great idea. So for those of you who are not aware, or maybe you are aware, Patreon is a way that we keep the podcast going. And if you're interested in supporting the podcast so that it can help others as well, please consider joining. It's patreon.com/WWDN. One of the perks is there are varying tiers. With those, you can get access to ad-free episodes. So if you're not into the ads, check it out. And there's also some other things that's exclusive content. We're going to be having some online hangouts with both Anita and me. And we're excited for what happens in the new year with Patreon. So we're going to do a shout out right now. We haven't put it in the beginning of an episode in a couple years. So we're going to do that right now before we start into Michelle's episode.
All right, we're going to start with Karen Cornejo. Thank you, Karen.
Constance Bell.
Krista Waite.
Barbara Schneeberger.
Maya Glasser.
Neil Hooper.
Kristen J. Pollack.
Is that how you say that?
That's how I've been saying it.
Okay. Michelle Crawford.
David Kelly.
Ashley Hahn.
Marie Hoffman.
Dennis Brozzo.
Sunshine Haven.
Amy Hartman Martell.
Deborah Nilek, not a Debbie Downer.
Jennifer Brown,
Chris Steffen,
Jenny Armstrong,
Patricia Wiest,
Lou Clausen,
Aunt Connie Remich.
Brandy Younger. Hey, did you know that Brandy Younger is also the name of a jazz harp player?
A jazz harp?
Go look it up.
Maybe it's the same one.
Hey, Brandy, you want to do a gig?
Meg Murto,
Jen O'Brien,
Alexis King Audello,
Karen Lindsay,
Elizabeth Thomas,
Christine Anderson,
Jenny Barrow,
Gabe Lozano,
Anna Tracy.
Jane,
That's my mom. Jackie, that's my sister-in-law.
Missy Schubert-Muhlstein,
Our daughter. Dawn Barber,
Kathy Murray,
Cindy Reynaud,
Judy Malkin,
Rebecca Ziva,
Gina Haas,
Gina Benoit,
Laura Keeley,
Deborah Westwood,
Melissa Bowers,
Rachel Tang,
Eric Vandermeulen,
Carol Schultz,
Marianne Hammond,
Trenton Thompson,
Ann Drennan,
Amy Burke,
Marianne McDonald,
Audrey Henniger.
Karen Ochoa. Oh, they're next to each
That
other.
is cute. Doris Rachel,
Jenny Dippold,
Jan Seeley,
Alicia McAllister,
Linda,
Jennifer Saunders. Or Sanders? Sanders? Jennifer Sanders?
Sanders. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't read, really.
Laura C.
Katie Saucier? Is it Saucier or Saucier? I feel like we asked her once and I've already forgotten. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Katie.
I feel like we have two. Jessica Burke,
Susie Dunnigan,
Jill Hanson Williams,
Kimmy Shelady,
Brittany Cruz,
Kathy Misetta,
Becky Barnett,
Jessica All,
Johanna Jenkins,
Alicia Wynn,
Terry Huston,
Deirdre Groen. Okay, I'm sorry, first of all. Deirdre Grainen? Grainen? Is it Grainen?
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the guy who did The Simpsons, right? But maybe she pronounces it different.
Well,
Tell
this
us.
is Graining, but the first part's the same.
Okay. Megan Ramsey,
Rita Wales, not Rita England.
Jen Lundberg,
Chelsea Adsit,
Jeannie Simpson,
Helen Copeland,
Lana Rustage. Well, hello, Lana Rustage. And finally, we have Yule Tide Wendy.
Yeah.
That's the wrong. That's
Oh.
Halloween.
Ho,
It's
ho,
ho,
ho.
ho, ho. Thank you so much to all of our Patreon supporters. We really do appreciate your financial assistance. The podcast would not happen if you didn't happen. So thank you.
All right, well, let's get to the episode.
Yep, let's do it.
I'm Mel.
Oh yeah, I'm Anita. Do we say that?
We're disasters.
I'm confused. I can't even remember. Let's get to the episode. We're two young widows. We're just trying to figure out widow
We
do.
now. The following episode contains talk of suicide, so please take care. Anita, this is the best of all of the days of my life.
I know that you have been anticipating this day with great joy and great pleasure, and the day is finally nigh.
It is true, and I'm going to let our next guest tell us more about herself, which is why I'm so excited. But let's welcome to the podcast, Michelle Clare.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
We are so glad to have you. First of all, will you tell our audience what you do?
I am a medium. I'm an angel communicator also. I'm an intuitive life coach and a spiritual advisor.
That was a lot of things.
It's a lot. I've also survived 3 near-death experiences.
Okay. That's a lot.
You've died 3 times and come back.
Where do we begin?
I know. Well, I'd like to know, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. So are you a medium full time? I mean, I guess you can't really turn it off, can you? But like for your job.
Right. For my job, I'm a medium full time, but actually you can turn the volume down. So I'm so happy you said that. When I go to the grocery store, here's the number one question. When you're at the grocery store or Target, are you standing in line and people's grandmothers and uncles and whoever are tapping you on the shoulder? And the answer is no, because when you're really working as a professional medium, we turn the volume down on it. So when I'm working, I turn that volume up and I'm really connected to spirit. I'm never disconnected, but there's like a volume button that we use. It's our best friend.
Okay, I have another question. when you're at the grocery store, do the watermelons tell you which one is ripe?
Only if I knock on them.
Dang it, I was hoping you had some sort of like skills in
In produce.
some benefit like that.
Yes, right.
The spirits of produce speak to you.
So let's get into a bit of your near-death experiences. I have a question. Before you had near-death experiences, were you prone to spiritual matter or communication?
Yes, I was. So I was about 12 years old when my grandfather passed away. I usually say transition because it's really life after life, just transitioning this life to the next. And when he transitioned, I noticed we were still in communication and we were still talking, and he would tell me things and I would tell my mom, and my mom would say to me, well, I know you'd think that's what grandpa would say if he was still here. So I kind of learned my conversations with me and grandpa were just between me and grandpa. And I didn't share it too much with anyone else. Then my grandmother transitioned, same thing, still talking to grandma. But it really took until my third near-death experience to say, oh, wow, okay, this is big. This is so much more than I had let it be up until that point.
I just am trying to figure out what you do for a job that is so dangerous that you've died 3 times. And it probably has nothing to do with your job, but I need to know.
I'll tell you. I will tell you. Yes. Beware. I was a stay-at-home mom.
No.
Your kids killed you.
It was my kids.
Oh, I'm feeling that acutely right now.
I know. It was actually my kids that brought me back twice. That's what I will tell you. Okay.
We can continue.
Yes. Yeah. So they were all very different. So the near-death experiences were all very different. The first one happened in April 2006. And I was actually in the hospital that day visiting my sister-in-law who had just had a baby. And her RN was one of my friends from high school. So I was out in the hallway talking to her, and I had a massive seizure. And what I remember, which most people, I've never had a seizure before or since then. So it was just this one massive episode. I remember opening my eyes and I was laying in this beautiful white room, and there were walls, but the walls were like alive. So it was like they were solid, but they were cells or molecules, and they were radiating light and love. And I remember feeling all of this love and compassion. I had truly never felt that loved in my life. And I realized I'm laying with my head in my grandma's lap, and my grandma had transitioned a couple years before this. And she looked like the youngest, healthiest version of her that I could ever remember. And I was laying there looking at her, just really soaking this all in. And I looked next to her, and there is an angel that is 12 feet tall standing next to my grandma. And it was huge, magnificent, awe-inspiring, all-encompassing. And I was just almost in awe. I have no better word than that. As I was sitting there, I decided, I want to see her wings, because I just knew she was going to have these great feather wings, right? And so I go to look at her wings, and I realized they were light. They were not wings made of feathers. They were made of light, and the light moved like the aurora borealis would. And they were translucent and iridescent, and they just shimmered, and they seemed to span eternity. I'm sitting here just in awe of this angel, feeling all of this love, this completeness, no sense of time. And in my mind, I thought, well, what is her name? What is your name? And the next thing I know, she answered me in my head. She said her name was Madeline, and she was one of my guardian angels. And then I was a little surprised, because I was like, oh my God, she can hear what I'm thinking. I didn't know she could hear what I was thinking. And I just sat there and was absorbing the moment and felt so loved, complete, whole. And the next thing I know, I hear someone yelling, code, code, code. And I was back in my body. So I had quit breathing during the seizure. When I re-entered my body, my arm alone felt like it weighed 100 pounds. It was so heavy and so dense. It took me a couple of weeks to share that with my mom. I knew I had had an experience, but I actually did not have the term near-death experience. So I didn't know what to call that, but it was more vivid and more real than my daily life. I was married. I did not have kids. I was working for the airlines. That was kind of my first one. And then my second one happens in April. It's actually May 2006. So at this point in time, I have 3 kids, My son was born April 1st, 2006. So what happened after I had him was I had multiple complications. So I would be running fevers. They'd admit me into the hospital on IV antibiotics for 5 or 6 days, send me home. Fever would come back and forth for 6 weeks. So finally, the doctor said, well, we need to do a DNC, which is to clear out your uterus, and then you're going to be fine. Easy procedure, piece of cake. Okay. The night before, I had this gut feeling that I should not do this, but I was so tired of being in the hospital and being sick, and they made it sound so easy. So I went for it. And the next morning I woke up, same feeling, kind of not happy about where I was going, but I wanted to get it done. And I remember I had had surgery before this. And whenever I've had anesthesia, it's always just been just like time that's gone. It's not dreaming. It's not vivid. It's just gone. And this time I remember counting backwards for the anesthesiologist. And the next thing I know, I'm in the operating room and I had this beautiful 102-pound white German Shepherd named Tahoe. And she had passed a couple years before this. She comes into the operating room, lays her head on my gurney, and we are gone. And we are gone. And we are on this phenomenal beach. And once again, every drop of water is alive and radiating light and love. And there are colors that we can't even imagine here, and smells, and everything is alive. And she and I are running on the beach, and she looks phenomenal. And I can tell we're having this telepathic communication again. She's so happy I'm there. She's so happy we're running. And I noticed after a while, we're running on the sand, and it actually feels like clouds. It's not like wet beach sand. And I'm like, gosh, we're not getting tired or hot or thirsty. And so we keep running and running. And I realize it's literally just about being in this most present moment. And kind of the funny thing about this is I literally hate to run. And I tell people if they see me running, call 911. It's an emergency, right? It's not me going out for a job. Here I am in my near-death experience running on this phenomenal beach. But as I'm with my dog running on the beach, what happens is I realize that our soul can be in more than one place at a time. So when we're not tethered to our body, we can actually be in multiple places at once. And so there's this part of me running with my dog on the beach. And then there's this other part of me where I can feel my 6-week-old son knows I'm about to leave. And he is energetically like calling to me. And I go to him. And at this point in time, my son was physically at my house with my mom. And I go to him and I say, I won't leave you. I will find a way to stay. And I start praying and I start saying, it's not my time. My kids still need me. I need help. And I literally saw the operating room light up with a beautiful white golden light. I felt Jesus come in. And I want to be clear, I was raised Catholic. I've always believed in angels and Jesus and all of that. But Jesus didn't come in as like bow down to my feet or this or that. Jesus literally came in as like, oh, I'm your friend. I'm here to help you with this. Yo. And yeah, like, hey, you called, I'm here, right? Like any good friend would do. And I felt his presence. And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in post-op, and my 45-minute procedure had turned into a 3.5-hour procedure. And what happened was they had ruptured through my uterus, missed my aorta by a millimeter, called in an emergency laparoscopic surgeon, and also ruptured the fundus. So they ruptured my uterus twice. So all of that happened. And so my 45-minute outpatient procedure turned into a 3.5-hour emergency surgery and another 10 days in the hospital.
You just made Mel's life when your near-death experience included a dog.
Yes.
I know.
At first, I thought you were saying that, like, there really was a dog.
Well, there really was a dog. There was.
Okay, but there was not a physical dog who came into the operating room, because that's against the rules, guys.
Exactly. There was not a physical dog in the operating room. But I mean, this is what's so important about this. I always felt that our animals go to heaven, or whatever you want to call this other place. She was in a better place than I could have imagined. And she was right there waiting for me.
That makes me so happy when I hear stories of pets waiting for their humans, because a lot of us have lost pets and they're members of the family, and it's so hard. And people that maybe don't have pets are like, well, it's just a dog, whatever. But those of us that have those connections with them, it's like, it's it's like agony when we lose them. So I love hearing that your dog was there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So after this experience, I also still don't have the words near death experience. I just know I've had another experience. I don't really know how to wrap my head around it. And I kind of mentioned it to my mom, and my husband kind of thought, well, I must have had like, I don't know if he really thought it was what it was, or he thought maybe I had too much anesthesia, or I don't know. He just didn't really, but my mom was really kind of intrigued, but she was an RN. So she also was like, wanted some scientific proof, which I did not exactly have for her at the moment. So after that, my third near-death experience, for people who like numbers, happened on 11/1/11. So November 1st, 2011. And my kids are older by this time. They were 5, 8, and 10. And my 2 younger ones were home. And in my house, I have 14-foot ceilings, and about 12 feet off the ground, I have these beautiful candle holders, and you put the batteries in the candle, and every night they turn on and glow. It's just nice and pretty and easy, right? So I did something I had done about 20 times already. I climbed up the ladder to put the new batteries in the candle. And I said to my 2 younger kids, I said, as soon as I get done, we're going to go pick up your sister from school. And as I got to the top of the ladder, I felt it shift. And I knew the first thing I thought is, this is going to hurt. That was all I had time to think, is this is going to hurt. And at that moment, I was literally ripped out of my body, not in a painful way, but in an extremely fast way, ripped out of my body, turned around, facing my body and the ladder suspended in the air. And I was standing with these 3 people that I had never met in this life, but I felt like I had always known them. And it was an Asian man, an Egyptian woman, and a Hawaiian man. And I just felt like I knew them, even though I could not place them in my life at any point. And as we were standing there, they said to me, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay, or do you want to go? And I remember looking at my body and the ladder and thinking, this is crazy. I'm going to hit the floor in less than a second, and I have forever to decide what I want to do. And I kind of kept going back and forth in my mind, like there was no hurry. And yet my humanness kept saying, but I'm going to hit the floor. Should I be in a hurry? There was no hurry. And as I was looking, all of a sudden I saw a different angel, but a phenomenal, huge angel come in from the opposite side. And I knew when I saw that angel that it was there to either take me home as soon as I was ready, or to make something happen so that I could stay. And as I stood there with these 3 amazing people, all of a sudden I saw my younger 2 kids who were home, and I knew I had to stay. And at that moment in time, I was downloaded with so much information. I was told, okay, but you've got to go back and do what you've been ignoring. Like, it's great that you're a stay-at-home mom, but you do have more purpose than just that in your life. You need to help people in the way that only you can help them. Not that I'm the only medium, but we all have, different vibes and do it our own way. So it's still, my way is unique to me. And I got downloaded with all of this information within, less than a second. And the next thing I fell off the ladder, and my kids who were home actually were the ones who ended up calling 911. And what happened was I had a 5.5-inch skull fracture, a brain bleed. I lost my taste, my smell, my hearing, part of my equilibrium. And I missed my brainstem by 1/2 inch. So I literally survived that fall by 1/2 inch, which is how much the angel moved my head so that I would be able to stay and finish my mission, I guess is what I would call it. So that was what really led to my mediumship opening up on a big level. And I will tell you, the first really big visit I had, so that happened 11/1/11. So I was in the hospital, and then I did different rehabs and things like that. Well, in January, my son, who was 5, we believed he had tried to call 911, but he was so nervous his call didn't go through, or maybe he dialed 991. We didn't know, but my 8-year-old daughter got it through. The end of January, my grandfather, who was the one who transitioned when I was 12, came through to me in a huge visit, and he talked to me about my accident, about my head injury. He talked to me about my son, whom they never walked this earth at the same time. I mean, years and years apart. And he told me that he said, he's really good with electronics. And then before the visit was over, he said to me, you should get the 911 recording. There's something on there you need to know. And I was like, Oh, wow. Never even crossed my mind. I didn't even know I could go get a 911 recording. So yeah. So I go down and I order it, and then it takes a couple of weeks to come in. And what I will say is, leading up to this, my son was feeling very depressed. He would say to me, my mom, my mother-in-law, anyone who would listen, I didn't need to be there when my mom had her accident. My call didn't go through. Sophie could have done it without me. And we would say, but Josh, you opened the door, you let the policeman in, but we could not build him back up. So I get the court recording and I put it in the computer to play it. And I heard them say, 911, what's your emergency? And in his little broken voice, I hear him say, Sophie, what do I say? And he lays the phone down. And for the next minute and a half, 911 is trying to get their attention and saying, can you hear us? What's happening there? And then you hear him say, I'm going to go push the panic alarm button on the house. And she says, hold on, let me try calling 911. And she hangs up the phone and her 911 call goes through next. There were 2 recordings and they both went through. And so when he came home from kindergarten that day, I said, Josh, I said, your call went through. And it was like I lifted this 10,000 pound weight off this little boy's shoulder. And you could see his pride and his self-worth. And I did do something to help you, came back in. And that information I would have never known had my grandfather not come through to share it with me. And at that point in time, I said, okay, I can no longer deny this. Like, this is real and this changes lives.
So after you've had these near-death experiences, how does one train or fulfill their calling as a medium? Like, are there medium schools? I wouldn't even know what to do with that information.
Right. So that is a great point. So actually, after all of these, like the visit with my grandpa and all of these things started happening, I actually went to a counselor first because I was like, I think I need help. I don't know how to explain this. And my friends are worried about potty training in first grade math, and I'm talking to dead people. You know what I mean? And luckily, as the universe would have it, I got led to the right counselor who said, Michelle, this is such a gift. And she helped me connect with other mediums who I mentored with for years because I didn't know how to train it or turn it on, like on demand. For a while, it just felt like it would happen and I had no control over it. But then I learned how to really utilize my abilities to make it the best that it can be.
Mel.
Yeah.
We have a major announcement to make.
Go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know, it's interesting. When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.
So now that you're trained, can you still visit that spirit world if you want to, or is that something that has to happen by almost dying?
Yeah, no, I would say I can still go there, but not to the extent that I went with the near-death experiences. So I can still connect with spirit and people's loved ones and angels and get messages and all of that. And in those moments, I can always feel that divine love and that divine light that they're coming in. But to really go back and be immersed the way that I would probably take some physical trauma. And I'm not quite ready for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a question about, I guess, the physical trauma aspect. So I've always been curious. This is the image that I'm going to use as an example. I remember for 9/11, like watching the people that were trying to get off of the top floors jumping. And I mean, of course it was so sad and so horrifying, but the thought that I have was I really just hope that their spirit is taken out of their body or they have a heart attack midair as like an act of compassion from the other side. And I've wondered that too, like for children that get murdered or people that get murdered, because I know there's an element of dissociation, like physically, like you can map that stuff. And so when you mentioned when you were falling off the ladder, it sounds like you had that. Is that really common with near-death experiences or in death, like watching other people die?
In both, it's very common. A lot of times, our souls can be strongly tethered to our body, lightly tethered, or disconnect, right? And when we disconnect, we pronounce the person dead. But it doesn't mean they're dead. It just means they're not connected to their anchor, which is holding them here on the earth plane. So with that being said, a lot of times I will read for people. I actually read for a lady whose cousin was in the Twin Towers when they collapsed. And her cousin came through in the reading, and very much so. Like most of the time, we are not connected to the pain or the trauma that our body is going through.
Okay, so we have a lot of friends whose partners have died, and a lot of them have died in kind of a horrific way. And I know that a lot of people that have that in their life, like they go through the thoughts and they're thinking, I just hope that his last moments weren't in pain. And there's a lot of guilt associated with that. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, you know what? I would tell you this, and I don't remember the pain in any of those near-death experiences. I remember the pain of recovering from them, and what that looked like. And obviously, this isn't a one-size-fits-all. But I will tell you, most people, there's no gain on a soul level to your soul feeling the physical trauma that you're going through as you transition. It doesn't make or break your life cycle. It doesn't. So when you think about this, I will tell you, every time I've been there, my word for God, the universe, source, divine, whatever you want to call that higher being of light, the true name should be love, and it is about love. And so there's no reason why our souls have to stay connected to feel the trauma of the physical part ending.
That's so interesting, because right now I'm just thinking about pain and the purpose of pain in our bodies, and it's a protective thing for us. And if we're not in our physical body anymore, then there is not a reason for pain, because you are not trying to protect anything from damage.
Right.
So that's something I've never thought about before. Super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I will tell you, after my third near-death experience, I was really finally able to come back and look at this world through a different lens. So instead of saying, why does my friend always date these same cruddy guys? I would be like, gosh, what's she trying to learn on a soul level, right? And I could actually come back and start seeing that life is spiritual, because these are our souls having a human experience. But just because we believe something to be true in our human form does not make it true on a spiritual form or a spiritual level.
That brings us to a question that I have of what people see when they have a near-death experience or when they die. Does that reflect their personal beliefs, whether that be religious, non-religious, other?
Yeah, not 100% of the time, but very often, yes, because you've got to think about source is God is love. Okay. So if I had shown up over there and they had shown me like a blue alien with 8 heads, I would have never interpreted that as an angel, right? Because the universe is going to meet you where you are. So they showed me what my interpretation of an angel was, so I could feel peace and calm and comforted. So yes, I would say very often, if people are expecting to find Jesus, they will find Jesus. If they are expecting to see oceans, they see oceans, green hills, because it's really about the love and comfort of the transition of your soul. And there's always evolution, right? So even after we transition, we don't stop evolving. You are learning and growing and continuing on the other side. So the idea of, maybe some people would think like, okay, once you transition, you sit at the feet of God for eternity. Wow. Okay. Well, on a soul level, that might be okay for the first 200 years, but then you're going to get a little bored and you're going to be like, what are we going to do now?
I was going to say, that sounds kind of boring. No offense.
Yeah, exactly. So the learning and the growing continues on. Absolutely. And to a lot of times you'll find what you're looking for because it's in your comfort zone. So if you want to be met, let's say somebody had a horrible relationship with their dad. right? And they're like, I do not want to see him when I pass. I will truly tell you, when they transition, their dad's not going to be standing there to greet them, because it is about their love and comfort in that period of time. And then when they're ready, at whatever point that is, then they're going to get to meet up with dad, and they're going to get to see dad on this bigger soul level.
Is there cheese in heaven? Will I be met with cheese?
Yes, absolutely. I know. I always say, I hope there's chocolate and cannoli, right? I mean, this is the thing.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to eat there to sustain yourself. So it would be about manifesting it like, oh, this tastes good. I like this. And that is part of that heavenly experience where you will find what you're looking for. And you can kind of like that idea of like, oh, I'm just going to teleport to Hawaii. Okay. Oh, here you are, right? This is the gift of being in spirit and not tethered to a human body.
So no kale, all the cheese.
And chocolate.
Perfect.
And chocolate.
And chocolate.
Anita and I have a theory that what manna from heaven in the Bible is actually mini grilled cheese sandwiches and tiny tacos.
I mean, come on.
Of course it is.
I have a question. Well, you mentioned that when you came back, you had information downloaded to you. I work with a lot of talented young people, and I have one student in particular. He is actually born with a brain injury. He has, I think, the right side of his body is not of full use. Mm-hmm. But he seems like he is a master of jazz organ from like 1958. And he comes to lessons, he's only like 10, 11. And this kid has maturity and things that you can only get by experiencing things. And sometimes they say to him, I'm like, how do you know this song? Have you heard it before? He's like, well, I go, did you go practice it? He's like, no. And I'm like, well, how did you know it? And he's like, I don't know. I just was born knowing it. And I believe him because I've seen it with my own eyes. And every week he comes and I'm just like, you have come pre-downloaded. Or what I'm wondering is, because he has a brain injury, is there something about the physical body that when you have something that's, quote, broken, that you have higher access to whatever higher information is out there?
I would say yes and yes. So I do believe he's probably come pre-downloaded, as you put it. But also, when we lose some of our human senses or abilities to say, oh, this is right, that can happen, that can't, it opens us up actually in a way where all of a sudden now it's like, well, why couldn't that happen? And so it does take away kind of our human reserve or our human shell and let us connect easier with spirit world very often. And I will tell you, I was doing a group reading a few weeks ago, and I had a mother there, and she had her 20-some-year-old autistic son with her. And I was able to connect with him. He's nonverbal, and read him and say, oh my gosh, he says he loves swimming. She's like, yeah, he was in the pool last night and this and that. And I was able to absolutely have this huge, amazing conversation with no words with him. And his mom was sitting there validating everything, because it's just soul to soul communication. And we do it when we're in bodies, and we do it when we're not in bodies.
Hey guys, just checking in and want to say, if you are enjoying this podcast
and you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
Some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
I'm feeling ripped off that I didn't get downloaded with the user manual for this life, like the PDF of what to do. That would have been nice.
Yes, exactly.
Because we're widows, and so we are pissed that our person is dead and having a good time on the other side. And I know a lot of people, they say to us, well, your person was needed on the other side, so that's why he died. And that's not helpful for us. But can you explain to us your understanding of what it's like for our partners that have passed on, what it's like for them looking back at us? Because we're just like in agony trying to get through the life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that being said, I mean, that's a really good question. And a lot of times I say that spirit thinks of us in a way is almost childlike. So with that being said, if your child came to you and was crying because the head broke off their doll, you wouldn't say, oh my gosh, that's a catastrophe. You just pop it back on and they'd be like, oh, that's fine. We're good. Right. And so a lot of times spirit sees things like that with us. So we're thinking this is the end. We're disconnected. And what our loved ones are saying to us from the other side is we're not disconnected. We still have a relationship, and I'm still going to help you with the kids, and I'm going to still help you get through your day, and I'm going to still help you find the right job. It's going to look different than it did when I was in body, but it's an illusion that they're taken away from us.
I have a question that's kind of a sensitive topic for widows. Mel and I have discussed this before, but you described a period where you got to choose whether or not you would come back to this life or whether you would transition on. And a lot of us feel some anger towards our person that they chose to transition to the next life. Do you, A, think that people do get a choice? And B, why should we not be angry at them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I always tell my clients, be angry. Them and God are big enough to handle your anger, right? So be angry. It's okay. They can handle it. So I'm not worried about that. If that's what you feel, you've got to let that out. Okay. But I don't think we always get a choice, right? So I do feel like in my second near-death experience, I really learned that things are happening on levels. So we have the human level, or the part I was knowing I was running on the beach with my dog. Then my soul level, I'm getting called to my son energetically and praying for a miracle. And then there's this third level, the divine God, whatever you want to call it, that actually has to oversee it all and say, yes, you can come home, or no, you can't. But sometimes, like let's say if somebody is killed unexpectedly in a horrific car accident, if your body cannot sustain your soul being tethered to it, there wasn't a choice in that. It wasn't like they got there and they were like, hey, what do you want to do? Or maybe they did get there and there was a chance they could survive, but they were going to be in a coma for 20 years and they decided, I don't want to put my family through that either. There's not a one size fits all. I think that the transition process and the way we approach God is as unique as every single human on this planet.
My personal feeling has always been that people have a choice, but they also have the knowledge that comes with that choice. Like you said, I know that my heart was stopped for 20 minutes and my body will not be the body that I had before. My brain will not function that way. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's always been like a comfort to me. But how do we deal with people who get the miracle and we didn't get the miracle?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's not a right or wrong way to deal with that, right? Because we tend to get angry. And in my own life, I actually did receive a miracle, not just the NDEs surviving them, but after I had lost my taste and smell and my equilibrium, pardon my hearing and all of this, 6 months later, the neurologist said to me, it's never coming back. This is as good as it's going to get. And I actually had phantom taste and smell. So what that meant was if I walked by Starbucks, it smelled like rotting, dead, burning bodies, and I would have to go outside and vomit. I mean, I can't tell you how many times something would trigger it, and because I could not taste or smell. Somebody told me about a lady in Paradise Valley who works with the Holy Spirit and does healings. So I had a friend who was transitioning from cancer, and I said, we've got to start going. And I started going with her. After we had gone about 8 or 10 times, she didn't need chemo anymore. And then all of a sudden, we were at a service, and this lady called out a woman who fell off a ladder, who has back pain and this and that. And I stood up and I literally received a healing. And the next morning I could smell hot chocolate and I could smell my son's hot dog for lunch. And then within a year, my friend transitioned from cancer. And I felt so guilty because I felt like I received her miracle. And I was going to be fine. Did I enjoy the way I was living? Not exactly, but I could survive that way. She didn't. And so there was this part where I felt so guilty that I got the miracle. But what I would say about that is, at the same time, it wasn't necessarily that I feel like my soul was chosen to receive the miracle. Like I was like, me, God, choose me, because that actually wasn't what was happening. I was there that day saying, choose her, God, choose her. You know what I mean? And so when we really dive into these things, they happen on such a bigger plan than our human minds can even comprehend, right? We're talking about soul level, and souls are eternal, right? And we're talking about all that there is making that decision or that judgment for whatever reason. And so I think it's really natural to feel angry, like, why did they get the miracle and we didn't, or we deserved one and that guy was a jerk and how come he's still here, and all of that. But all I can tell you is it's happening on such a bigger level than our human mind. And so I think all of those feelings are natural and valid, and some things we're not going to really know the answer to in this life.
I'm curious to hear what your perspective is on those who die by suicide.
Yeah. So I work with a lot of parents whose kids have transitioned themselves. And here's what I will find. I have never had one of those kids come through, or anyone, a husband or whoever. I've never had someone who has transitioned themselves come through and say, I was in my right mind and chose to go. That's not what happens. There is always something, whether it's a mental illness or there's a trigger or something leading up to that. And so what really important for people to know is your loved one, they go straight into the light. They're not being held in, soul prison, purgatory, whatever this word is, because they transition themselves. There's not. Did they complete their life's mission? Maybe not, but are they being withheld from love and comfort and all of the things that a soul, beautiful soul, deserves? Absolutely not either. Because, I don't know, God literally knows this is a hard life and this is a hard thing. And so I would say people come into this life kind of knowing like, okay, this could be a problem. Maybe I'll have mental health issues, maybe this or that. But when you're in it, it's a whole different world. And so there is no judgment in a negative way when somebody transitions themselves.
When you're able to connect with souls, are they ever in pain, or do they have regrets, or do they have perspective and so they don't have that human emotion that we give to them maybe?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. And so I would say when I connect with them, I wouldn't use the word pain for a physical body or a mental body. I would say basically there are many times where we get there and we say, could have done that better. Should have done this instead of that. So it's more of like a wisdom and a knowing. I will also say a lot of times if somebody does transition themselves, it's almost like they're working harder to help their family get through it, to help their family find the right people to help, so it's not that they, and regret, yes, but not in the kind of deep human regret in the way of like, oh, I could have done that different. If I had stayed longer, this would have happened. So they're able to see the big picture in a way that our human minds are not.
Yeah, but not shame-filled, more just kind of neutral fact, like, oh yeah, that could have happened differently.
Yeah, not shame-filled, because they are met with love and wholeness and completeness. And so there's no one up there shaming them.
You mentioned that you grew up Catholic, and then you just mentioned there's no prison, purgatory sort of a thing. How have you reconciled that in your own life, growing up Catholic and having elements of that taught and your own experience?
Well, from a really young age, there were a lot of things I loved about the Catholic religions. I loved knowing I had Mother Mary, angels, saints. I had all these beams of light I could call for, and they were going to help me. St. Francis would help me find my dog, and on and on, right? So that part was really good going into the mediumship, because I already felt like, oh, I have a whole team of people wanting to help me. But there were always parts that didn't connect with me. Like I remember being told animals don't go to heaven because they don't have souls. And I remember being like crushed by that and thinking, what? Of course this beautiful little creature has a soul, and so there were always things that I had to reconcile along my way. But I will tell you, my mom died a very devout Catholic, and she passed from breast cancer. And towards the end, I did say to her, I said, you know what, Mom, there's I thought I was giving her good news. I said, Mom, there's no purgatory. Like, I have never had a spirit come through and say, contact my family. I just got out of purgatory, you know? And when I told my mom this, she glared at me. Like, she did not think that was good news, that I was telling her there was no purgatory. So I just kind of let it go because I was thinking I had this great news. You know what? It hasn't been hard for me to reconcile, especially with my NDEs, because I know where we're going as love and I know how much we are loved. And it just makes sense. It's going to be like, you know, if you have an animal you love or your kid's naughty that day, you don't stop loving them. You're like, oh my gosh, he ripped up the sofa. Whether it's your kid or your dog, you're not happy about it. But it's not like you're going to put them in a kennel now for the next 80 years, you know?
And Anita actually might.
Right before this happened, my son kicked a hole in the wall. That's what I was dealing with. That's why it was. Anyway, so yes, I do understand that on a very, very personal level.
Right. Yes. But when you know God is love, there is no reason for that separation. There is no reason for someone to have to go to purgatory or soul prison or whatever we want to use these words, or be kept from the love, because your soul, whether you're connected to it or not. And this is one thing I love with mediumship. A lot of times people think like we're human and then you die and become the soul. No, actually your soul right now, like your soul having this human experience, right? And there's no part of your soul that doesn't come from the light and isn't already deserving of going home and being loved and feeling whole.
So here's a question, just because I'm in this mom mindset right now. You can love your child, but they also have to have a consequence for their behavior. Does that continue into the afterlife? That, you know, I still love you so much, but yeah, you're going to sit in timeout and you're going to, you know, you're going to do 77 chores because you messed up.
Exactly. That's a great question. And my answer to that would be, no, I don't think that continues into the afterlife, because even as humans, if we make a bad choice, we usually pay the consequence in one way, shape, or form. And so I'm not someone who believes in karma or anything like that. God's not up there like, oh yeah, you did this, so you get that. That's not how a loving God works, right? And so, no.
What about murderers?
I know, right? That's the part.
Yeah.
I would say really what I have found is that they have to judge themselves, and they do have to come to acknowledge of what they did. And they probably have to even, I would say, feel the pain they caused the family and everyone around that. And so that would be that. Yes. I mean, there's stuff in our human world where we're like, that is not okay. But a lot of the times, I would say we've already settled up before we get to the spirit realm.
I know this is not new information to you, but when people lose a loved one, they're often yearning to speak to them again, whether they died suddenly or whether they had a long death or whether they're missing a grandparent. And of course, in our world, we deal a lot with partner loss. What advice do you have to somebody who is really yearning for that? As far as if they do seek out a medium, how can they prepare themselves so that it's the best experience?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Or a great question. What I would say about that is, number one, there are websites. So I'm a certified medium. So there's a website called Find a Certified Medium. I don't know if there's between 20 and 40 of us on there. So that means we have been tested. So I was told at 5 different times, log on to Skype at 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. I get on, there's a black screen, and I just start going with what I'm getting. And I'm getting scored and graded. I don't know if I'm reading for a man, a woman. I don't know where in the world they are. And so I would always say, go to that website, find a certified medium, because then number one, you know, they've been vetted to some extent, which is really very, very important. The other thing I would say is, it's okay to be skeptical, but be open-minded. When you go to that medium, how do they know your grandma left you her ruby ring? You know, I mean, they don't know that, right? So a lot of times people will want to say, well, you could have Googled that. Okay, well, where on Google am I going to find grandma left you a ruby ring? I'm not, you know what I mean? So with that, the other thing too, invite your loved ones in. Sometimes I have people who come and they're like, they want to bring a picture of their loved ones or bring this, their ring, or bring that. That's perfect. Do it. Invite them in, because I will tell you, they not only do they want to talk to you, they are hearing everything you're saying to them. So they are that thought away. When you start thinking about them or you start talking out loud to them, they're there. You bring them in. So it's not that they're not hearing what you're telling them. It's just a lot of times harder for the human side of us to hear what their response is.
Is there a way for people to look for signs from their loved one that they're around? Because I think we're often like, I mean, and I said this myself, I'm like, "Okay, Scott, you better shake the walls and knock stuff over. Like, you're doing a crappy job of like haunting me because you're not doing any of those things." My grief was so big that I was just like, it's going to have to be a big thing that I can recognize. And also in my experience, the times where I have heard whisperings or inspiration like that, it's when things are quiet and when you least expect them, or they're little like ribbons of thought that go through your mind. How can people look for certain things?
Right. I love that. I love all of those things you just said, because those are all signs. And so number one, a lot of times you're going to find what you're looking for. So I would say be open and start looking. I do feel like grief tends to build a wall. So for myself, when my mother passed, it took me 6 months to get a dream visit from her, maybe longer, but I know it was my grief, right? And that's the human process that we're working through. But there are a lot of really common signs that they send, such as music, or they will send butterflies, or they will send dream visits, or they will do things like that. But look for the things that are specific to your loved ones. Okay, they love to play with electronics too. So I had one mom who had been to a couple different mediums. None of them had connected with her son. And then the day before our reading, every 15 minutes on her phone, she started getting an alert that our meeting was the next day and 23 hours away, 22. And we're like, okay, clearly her son is like sending her signs. So be open to it. I will tell you, our loved ones are always trying to connect with us. But the human side of us is like, I want the billboard that says, hi, Anita and Mel, love, your husband, right? And so we don't usually get those signs, but they are always trying to give it to us. So I would just say, be open. Be open.
Okay. I would officially like to ask Jason to please make it so my phone doesn't send me 7 emails to remind me about everything that's in my calendar. I can't fix it. I don't know. But if you could put in a request for that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. And some lottery numbers. Okay, bye.
Exactly, right? Love it.
We have had some widow friends who have gotten texts from their deceased person's phone long after they've been gone. So that's kind of common?
Yes.
I don't know, common in air quotes?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they use our electronics to connect with us. So even my mom, and we used to laugh, like she couldn't even use her iPhone. My mom, after she transitioned, all of a sudden on my phone, her contact would pop up and it would say missed voicemail. And it would take me to a voicemail 2 years ago that she had left me. And it would be like, "Hi, honey, I hope you're having a good day." It was insane. So yes, they will use your email. They will use your phone. They will use whatever they can. I've had clients who will be like, "My doorbell wouldn't stop ringing. I got up, I looked at the door. There's literally no one there. And it's like, ding, 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 ding." And they'd say, and then the connecting thing is it was at 8:00 in the morning on Sunday. And that's when we always left for church or whatever that is. So be open, be open.
So we have lots of friends who have, I don't know what the preferred term for meeting with a medium is. What's the preferred term? A reading? What? What is it?
A reading. I call it a reading.
Okay. So they've had readings and we've had reports of really amazing experiences and not so amazing experiences. Why?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And there's a lot of things that go into that. So number one, please use the certified medium or someone that someone else has used and they've said, "Hey, she's really good," or "He's really good." Okay. Because you've got to know, it's just like anything else. There's a huge spectrum, right? About some people are really good, some people aren't. But then there's another thing that comes into play here. So not all mediums connect the same way. And our loved ones on the other side have different abilities. So I'm not someone that hears a lot of words. Some mediums, it's like your loved one is just saying, "And say this and this and this and this." I get most of my information through feelings. So if I'm connecting with somebody's loved one who is a talker, and I'm getting words instead of feelings from them, there's automatically a difficult time communicating. So think of it more as like the chopped up cell phone call. So I do not believe every medium can connect with every person on the other side just because of the communication differences.
Interesting.
Do you have to prepare for a reading?
I do have to be in the right zone. So, and then there are other days where like everything, yes, the dog's vomiting in the living room, the kid's homesick. And I'm like, oh my God, I have a reading in 5 minutes. Right. And the water's running over somewhere. And I'm like, oh, okay, Michelle, put in. So yes, it does help to be in a zone. But what I will say is I always do my readings with what I literally say. I say that any information that comes through will be in light and love and for this person's highest good. And when I say that, I can literally feel myself turn on. I can literally feel myself connect to spirit. And I can say, okay, here we go. And then I tune into the loved ones. And I will tell you, when I first started mediumship, I would worry, like, what if someone comes over and their loved ones don't show up? What if I have nothing? They come in, I'm like, nice to meet you. I've got nothing. Have a good day. That's not, that's not what happens, because your loved ones, your angels, your spirit team, they are always here. So sometimes I can get really, really deep, like messages where I'm just like, oh my Lord, where did that come from? Because it is so, so deep on. And then but there's always something. There are always messages, because they always want to get you to know that they're still standing right next to you.
Does it work where they ask you questions to ask them, or is it more just they're there to receive whatever information their loved one wants to pass on?
Yeah, sometimes people do ask questions, and I don't always get answers to that, because I don't think we're always allowed to get the answer when we're here on Earth. But a lot of the times I will. A lot of times too, though, if they will just be open to receiving. Some people they'll show up, they'll have a list of questions, and I'll say, okay, before we get to your questions, let me see what I'm getting. By the time I get done, I have answered every one of their questions without even knowing what's on their list. Not me. I haven't answered it. Spirit has answered it. Their loved ones have answered it, because they know what's on your list and what's in your mind and in your heart.
Have you ever had somebody ask you where to find something and then you have been able to help them find it?
You know what? I have had that happen a few times. Yes. And
what about passwords?
I know, right? That is very common. I have so many people say, can you just figure out the code to their phone or yes. That is a lot harder, but it's doable. It's doable.
And you can do a reading over the internet. Yes, that's what it sounds like if you did your testing with Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. Because our loved ones are in spirit. So they're standing with you in your house and me in mine. And here we go.
They're loving the electronics, probably, of the internet. We also have widow friends who have either started dating, or they're maybe considering dating, or they are dating. And then we have widows who are not open to it. Everybody falls in a certain area of the spectrum. And I know for me, I've had a couple of readings, and then also I'm around, I guess, pretty spiritual people. And sometimes, like, it's happened like multiple times where the message is it's every time the second thing that comes through, it's like, you need to be open to finding someone else. And I'm like, shut up. Do you realize what I've been through in my life? I hate you. Go away. Like, it's going to be my decision. But I'm just like annoyed about stuff like that. What's your perspective or your opinion or experience on people who may have lost a partner, but their dead partner is like, hey, you're going to find somebody? Like, have you had experience with that?
I have. I've actually had some of my friends tell my dad after my mom passed that they're like, okay, well, she's going to be sending you someone. And my dad wants nothing to do with that. So I totally get that. So it's always about honoring yourself. But I also want to talk about what our loved ones think in spirit, right? Our loved ones in spirit don't want us to quit living, to shut the door, stay home, and sit there on the couch for the next 60 years.
What if that's what I want to do, though? That sounds great.
Yeah, that's been my plan.
I know. Right. But then at the end of your life, they're going to say, well, I mean, but you guys are doing a podcast, so you actually could be very productive sitting in your house for the next 60 years.
True.
Most people cannot be. And on a soul level, the more we live, the more vicariously they get to live through us. And so I do say, really, I find that our loved ones come through and they say, yes, if you can, we want you to remarry. We want you to have the family. We want you to have the vacations, the Christmases, the whatever these things are. But it's always about the time that's right for you. But really, once we leave our human form and we step into that bigger spiritual person that we are, It's about wanting the best for our loved ones that are still on earth. It's like having multiple kids, right? Or multiple dogs. You can love all three dogs. You can love all three kids. You're not going to love them the same way, but you can love them all. And that's the same with other relationships, right? So you can remarry, you can have a loving relationship. Will it be like your first one? No, but that's not the one you're looking for. It's who you need now.
Or what if you like the second person better?
Good for you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a person tell somebody, don't start dating, or like, don't do it? Like, no, I don't want you to find love.
I have not had it come through like that. Now, I've had them come through and be like, I don't like the guy you're dating. You can do better than that type energy, but not like, no, just don't ever look at another man again. I haven't ever had that happen, but I have had them be like, this isn't the one, you need to keep looking. Or I'm going to try to help get this guy that you don't know yet connected to you in a year and a half, kind of energy like that.
So Mel told you that she has done a few readings, and I have never done one because I'm scared. And I'm not scared like people are like, oh, do you think it's like black magic and like, woo? And no, my fear is that I'll come away and I will be disappointed with the interaction or what was relayed to me. And it will make me believe less rather than believe more, if that makes sense. Like, I would rather almost be naive and hold what I think is happening in my brain than have it confirmed one way or the other.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to me?
You know what? First of all, I would say I think that's a very legitimate concern, because some people are really afraid of what they're going to hear, in the sense that, oh my gosh, she didn't get the one key word. Okay, so this is the hard part as a medium, right? I will come through with 56 minutes of amazing evidence that your loved one is still connected to you. And then they'll be like, I just need to hear the one word now that will validate all of that. And I'm going, oh my gosh, because their person has just worked so hard through me to connect with them. And now the whole last hour is based on one word. And so that's really hard. But I would say if you go in open-minded, if you can do it from a place of, you know what, it's like going clothing shopping, whatever your favorite store is, you're not going to leave with every shirt there. You're going to pick the ones you want. So going in and taking what resonates for you. And if some of it doesn't, then you can say, I'll leave that there for later.
What if you get no shirts that you like, and then you feel like your husband doesn't exist anymore?
Then that is all in your head. That is all in your head.
She's also a life coach, so she can help coach you through your thoughts.
That because your husband does still exist, and your husband will always be sending you the signs and the messages that he can. My God, he sends you 7 email notifications a day or whatever this is, right?
Stop doing that. I don't want that.
Where can people find you and your resources?
Yeah. On my website, michelleclare.net. And that's where you can find a lot of information about what to expect with the reading, how it works, links to other things that I have been on, Amazon Prime. There's a special out that says it's called Life to Afterlife. I Died, Now What? And that's on Amazon Prime. And that talks a lot about, hey, what are your people experiencing on the other side?
Well, we have really enjoyed having you as our guest and chatting with you. It's been so fun. Anita is kind of sitting back. If anyone can see her right now, they would see that she's like mind blown. Are you okay, Anita?
Oh, I'm never okay. We all know that.
But
it's fine.
We have one more question to ask you. And Anita, I'm going to let you do the honors.
Okay. This is the most important question, Michelle. If you don't answer it correctly, I will not believe in an afterlife. Are you ready?
Right. No pressure. I'm ready.
No pressure. What is your favorite cheese?
Oh, I have to pick one.
You can have 3 if you need it.
I can have
or 5.
3.
We don't really care.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love Gouda.
Everybody loves Gouda.
Right?
Yeah.
So yummy. Could I say queso? It kind of counts as cheese, right?
Absolutely.
Especially
queso.
Since you're in Phoenix. Like, I feel like that's required.
Yeah, you can say queso. You did not fail, so congratulations. You can sigh a breath of relief.
Thank you.
Breathe a sigh of relief or sigh a breath of relief.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Whatever works.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Michelle. I think that what you have shared is going to bring some comfort and some understanding to a lot of our listeners.
Thank you so much. It's truly been an honor and a pleasure to be with you both today.
Remember to check out the Widow Wives Club on Facebook. If you're not already a member of our group, it's for widows or widowers, anybody who has lost their romantic life partner. And just remember to make sure you submit all the information. We're really not going to let you in if you don't answer all the questions. If you want to keep the podcast going, check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you would like to buy us a taco, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonownow.
Till we talk to you next time, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Michelle Clare.
And we're just two young widows and a lady who either has really good luck or really bad luck. I'm not quite sure. And we're all trying to figure out
Widow we do now.
Mel, can you please tell me how you feel about therapy?
I am so grateful for therapy. I do therapy every single week.
Do you think it's a great tool in the widow's toolbox?
I sure do. I think it's a great tool in anybody's toolbox. And I am so glad that I have stuck with it because as time goes on, there are more things that I am able to learn about myself. That goes for anything from healing from the death of my husband to childhood things to trying to get outside and be social or trying to address my own certain personality. So yeah, it's really been helpful for me.
We have so many people in the Widow Wives Club who have started using BetterHelp and have amazing reviews. It takes away so many of the barriers to getting great therapy.
I know one of the things that's hard for people, and we get this question a lot, it's I need a therapist that does XYZ. Who is a therapist that is going to be widow friendly? And I know that is so hard to find. When I did therapy that was not on this online platform, it was hard. And it's kind of trial and error, kind of like a new medication, honestly, like a new antidepressant. And the way that BetterHelp is set up is it's easy to find somebody that has your specific needs as part of their expertise. And you know what? If you get into a couple sessions with that person and it's not a good fit, it's so easy to change. You can ask some of our friends in the Widow Wives Club. They've changed therapists and gotten one that has been a better fit for them. Well, a lot of them are lucky with who they get first time. I am so grateful for mine. I love her so much, and it's literally changed my life for the better.
This is amazing. So if you guys are wanting to add therapy to your toolbox or need a change in who you're seeing right now, consider checking out BetterHelp. They're one of our sponsors. If you go to trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month of therapy if you sign up with BetterHelp. And let me tell you, the day that I was in the hospital with my dad when he was dying, I was able to instant message with my therapist, and she checked on me all throughout the week. And I was not available for video sessions for a lot of those times because there were things we were dealing with, like mortuary stuff, and I was still able to be in contact with her. So they're very, very responsive, caring. It's such a great platform, and I recommend it to anybody who is looking for therapy.
Once again, it's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
And that's for 10% off your first month of online therapy.
You don't even have to wear pants, Mel.
I know this.
First-hand experience.
You can even wear a onesie.
Or a twosie.
Ooh, scary. All right, bye!